Really, we can't hear you if you're talking.
Sorry, am I audible now?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Naveen. Dear participants, welcome you all to the December Friends of Elephants event. Let me tell you about what Friends of Elephants is all about. It's not an organization and is not proposing to become one. It's an informal group of people coming together with varied expertise concerned about elephants and other wildlife. The group is a forum for disseminating knowledge linked to elephants and other wildlife science, conservation, and welfare through art, culture, literature, movies, talks, panel discussions, and conversations. We have been conducting this offline, in fact, since April 2014, and from 2020 onwards, basically from the COVID time onwards, it's become online event. Our expectation is that people who have attended our events, formally or informally, participate or help in developing appropriate conservation and welfare measures for wildlife, including elephants. So we move on to see what today's event has. This is how it is scheduled. There's a talk by Dr. Sonali Ghosh on elephants in culture, a conservation story from Assam, followed by a conversation between Dr. Sonali Ghosh and Mr. Kaushik Barua on culture and conservation of elephants in Assam. Towards the end, we will have the Q&A session, which will be moderated by Mr. Naveen A. So my request to every participant is you kindly post your questions on the chat box, which will be finally picked up by Mr. Naveen. And the event also will be recorded and it will be available in a day or two on YouTube. Let me tell you about myself, Soundaryavalli. I come from, with very work experience, my latest being with WWF India, Karnataka State Office for over 3 years. I had the opportunity to also play active role in corporate environment, taking up leadership role and also as a tour operator. Plus, I have worked as a lecturer as well with students. I possess a master's degree in both English literature as well as journalism and mass communication. I've been volunteering for over many years, and volunteering for Citizen Science Research and Education Program has engaged me with children through nature trails and expert talks. This is only an attempt to bring them closer to other life forms, which in turn would sensitize them to appreciate biodiversity around them. Today, I have the privilege to introduce the event and also the speakers for today and take you through this scholarly journey. Let me now introduce the first speaker for today, Dr. Sonali Ghosh. Welcome you, Doctor. And she is an Indian Forest Service, that's IFS officer, with more than 24 years of professional work experience in forestry and wildlife governance, implementing social sector schemes and natural resource management. She has served as a site manager in 2 UNESCO designated World Heritage Sites, both Kaziranga as well as Manas, and has been a founding faculty at the Category 2 Center on World Natural Heritage for Asia and the Pacific region at Wildlife Institute of India. A PhD in remote sensing technology, she has contributed to the UN IPBES biodiversity and nexus assessments. She has more than 50 peer-reviewed publications, including 2 books on natural heritage. She is currently serving as Field Director, Kaziranga National Park, and CEO, Assam Agroforestry Development Board. Let me mention to you at this point that she is the first woman director for Kaziranga National Park and Tiger Reserve. Welcome you, Dr. Sonali, once again, and over to you. I will now stop sharing the screen so that you can share.
Right. Good evening. Namaskar to everybody. Thank you, Ms. Soundaryavalli, for a very kind introduction. Thank you to Mr. Kaushik Barua, who is my co-panelist on this talk today. I think it's a wonderful initiative at the Friends of Elephants to talk about elephants. And I'm really impressed that you've been doing this since 2014, which is quite a wonderful archive in terms of what you've, perhaps is available. And thank you to everybody else who has joined in. And yeah, so I guess it's a 1 hour format. So probably I will, to initiate in terms of what I have learned. I mean, being a non-native Assamese, I would say, in a sense that I have lived in Assam for 24 years. So I've learned a lot of things in terms of the cultural aspect, and I'm sure Mr. Kaushik Barua is going to talk. The idea is that the more I think I have, as we grow older, or as I've grown older in service, I've realized that more and more that if we need to do conservation, and especially if we are looking at conservation of large mammals like elephants or rhinos or tigers, it's not just the science bit, but it's also the cultural bit, the community bit, which needs to be a very important aspect of how we look at our species. So, for example, so this is the talk title for today. And if you see this beautiful picture clicked by Mr. Shubhamoy, is, you see the way the Mahot is sitting on the elephant, but he is putting a gamusa on. The gamusa is a sort of a mark of respect in every household, in every Assamese community. It's a mark of respect, and he's putting it on the elephant. So that's I think explains a lot about how elephants are revered, how they are placed in the culture of Assam. Of course, for most of us, I would say, we have grown up listening to Vakratunda Mahakaya, Surya Koti, Samaprabha, Nirvingdam Kurunde Devu, Sarvakareshu Sarvata. So I guess the fact that we have the invocation of Lord Ganesha every time we start any good thing, I guess that itself is a sort of a embodiment of how we are we revere the elephant and the elephant god. So that is what is I mean, it's something like an intangible belief that is coming out of centuries of traditional wisdom, and in terms of how we have handled, or how we have looked at elephant conservation in our country. Of course, when we look at elephants in our culture, I mean, be it the Ajanta caves, which is the more or less 2nd century before Common Era, you have these big rock-cut temples guarded by the elephants. If you look at even the temples in the South Asia, for example, this is the World Heritage Site of Phra Phang, which is a Thailand in temple. It depicts Indra riding the Eravat, which is a 3-headed elephant of the king of gods, or the Lord Indra. So these are some of the in terms of the ancient aspect, in terms of the reverence, in terms of being able to describe the animal in a sacred manner, has been there. Closer home, and this is beautifully rendered in Assam, is we have these beautiful, it's a sort of a folk songs, which is known as the Goalpuria Lokageets, which were rendered by Pratima Barua Pandey, and she was the sort of a person who popularized these songs of bonding between Mahots and their elephants, and love and longing, and so on. So it was a very wonderful way to describe the bonding between the elephants and their Mahots through these songs, which are very popularly known as the Gwalporia Lokageet. And if we can expand this further into in terms of how we have looked at it as a science, then yes. I mean, again, and here I'm Mr. Kaushik Barua would be perhaps elaborating on it, is that we have a known evidence and a known culture of elephant upkeep, of the science of elephant upkeep in the state, in Assam. And this is something which has been very well documented. So, for example, there is one folklore which says that in Mahabharat, the elephants which were used were from Assam. Then, of course, we have this wonderfully illustrated document called the Hasti Vidyaranya, which is a 17th century document in terms of it describes the elephants. It also explains that what is, which elephant is what, and their, body type and their behavior, and how they should be, their care should be taken up. We have Padma Shri Dr. Kushal Sharma, who is a veterinarian and of repute, and he is again from Assam, and he has done a lot of work in terms of documenting the elephant upkeep, the veterinary aspect of how we should be managing our elephants. The sister of Pratima Barua Pandey is Srimati Parvati Barua. She was awarded the Padma Shri this year. And she is again one of the first female Mahout and elephant trainer and a captive elephant authority in terms of how she has been able to, bring in the science and the culture into our departmental elephants. And of course, this is a classic that I think every forester reads or must read, and which is basically The Elephant Gold, written by P.D. Tracy, who was a very eminent forest officer in these parts in Assam. And it is one of, even now, after almost 50 years, it is one of the finest treaties in terms of elephants, in terms of how, what is their behavior and the aspects related to their ecology. So yes, what I'm trying to say is that elephants are very important for the rural communities, the sacred and the spiritual. They kind of touch the lives there. So in a way, if we are talking about conservation, if we are talking about mitigating conflict, we do have a potential, we do have a scope in terms of, invoking that traditional bond or that sacred bond with the communities. It becomes much easier if the communities understand that or are practicing their tolerance in terms of elephants in their vicinity. Of course, Honorable Prime Minister of India also on 12th of August, and if I may quote, he in the year 22, he has given a beautiful quote that the success in elephant conservation must be viewed in the context of the human-animal conflict and integrate local communities and their traditional wisdom in furthering environment consciousness. So I guess in terms of our policies, in terms of the way we make our management plans, there is a very important element of adding the traditional wisdom. And yes, so, and maybe this is something which we would be discussing a little later, is that we may want to kind of reiterate this aspect of elephants as cultural icons of modern day India. We have to reinstate the nature, culture, people connect. We may want to again look at women, children, inculcate that aspect of karuna, the compassion in young minds when they look at animals. And yes, so it is not just limited to India. We have now got global recognition in terms of the aspect, the key bonding that elephants and the humans have in our country, and that is, I think, a big victory for us. So that's it about kind of giving sort of an overview and maybe initiating this conversation with all of you. Thank you for the opportunity. But I will now pass on the baton to Mr. Kaushik Barua. And I will request Mr. Soundaryavalli, Ms. Soundaryavalli, would you be introducing him first? And then I guess he would be talking about his experience.
Oh, Valli, you're there? Just waiting for. Valli, are you there? Just give me a second, please.
Sure, no worries.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Yeah. Yeah, please, we can continue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Sonali. It was very, very comprehensive, and you have in fact included multiple facets of this, starting from culture, women, children, bringing in also the Prime Minister's, what he quoted, the Mahol's, the books that one needs to study and which is relevant even after 50 years. Really amazing and immense knowledge is there. Thank you so much. It would be even more interesting now when we get on to the second session of this event of today's talk. That is, there's going to be a conversation with Mr. Kaushik Barua. Let me introduce him. I would like to, can I share the screen? If you could stop, I can share, and otherwise I'll have to just
I
read
think
it
I have
out.
stopped sharing. I have stopped
Okay, I will share it. Can you all see?
Yeah, you can see.
Okay, yes. Welcome, Mr. Kaushik Barua. He's an entrepreneur with business interests in civil and electrical engineering, financial market, healthcare, and logistics. An ex-honorary wildlife warden of Assam and a fourth-generation elephant owner, he has over 25 years of hands-on experience working with both captive and wild elephants. He's also a member of IUCN's Asian Elephant Specialist Group, the State Board for Wildlife, and the State Elephant Task Force. He has collaborated with the Forest Department of Assam and West Bengal in various capture, rescue, translocation, and radio collaring operations involving elephants, rhinos, tigers, and leopards. He has also collaborated with various institutions for ecological impact assessment and restoration planning. Currently, he is involved in training and development of military working dogs for anti-poaching operations. Welcome, Mr. Kaushik Barua. Now the floor is yours.
Thank
between
you.
you and
Thank
Dr.
you, Soundaryavalli.
Sonali. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes.
very clearly. Yeah.
First, I would like to thank Dr. Ghosh for the lovely presentation. I really like the flow. And what I'm going to chat today and interact is keeping in view the flow. and then we can go to other aspects if needed. Well, the first thing is the history of elephants in Assam. Since time immemorial, Assam's got a cultural and traditional history relationship, however you might put it, with these gentle giants. Palakapya, the author, Palakapya Muni, the author of Gaja, of Hasti Ayurveda. The Hasti Ayurveda used to deal in elephant medicine. Gaja used to deal in elephant sciences, the management of elephants. He presumably was from the Lohitas, the Himalayas, which was in the Lohita. Lohita is another name for the river Brahmaputra. So, centuries and centuries ago, when this was written, it was written by somebody who was believed to have moved around with elephants in the region of Northeast India. It started from there. After that, medieval Assam, during the Ahom rule, we thought that there was only one treatise. But as we got into things a bit more and things started becoming a bit more intense, there were 3 treatises that were written from Assam. And all the 3 treatises written during the Ahom rule survives till this date. The first one, the oldest rather, is Hasti Vidarnava, which tells about all the aspects of elephant keeping, management, shapes, sizes of elephants, elephant behavior. That was the first one, followed by Hati Puthi, another one which used to mainly deal with elephant management. And then there was a private manuscript which still exists with a gentleman known as Mr. Rajkwa from Jorhat, known as Gajendra Chintamani. It's basically Gajendra Chintamani, a thought process of elephants. Beautiful manuscript with period artwork depicting what elephants are, what they should do, how they should be trained, their behavioral aspects. That was one. Then, once the colonial rule came in, we had interesting people coming into Assam. Forestry started developing Assam, and with forestry came a British-born, German-trained forester known as A.J.W. Milroy. Now, Milroy started off as a Kheda operation officer. Kheda operation was basically to do with stockade method of capturing of elephants. Now, he brought reforms into elephant captures way back in 1920s, and his efforts were actually supported by the then Assamese elephant catchers, especially the Fukons of Saring. See, the welfare part of it came to Assam way back in 1920s. So that was very interesting. And then it was followed by, Assam used to follow the Madras Elephant Preservation Act. In around 9, we had our own act. We had our own Elephant Preservation Act, which very few people know. So Assam, when I say Assam, Assam is the heart of elephant culture and conservation. Elephant conservation is also a culture. Culture and tradition is also elephants out here. So we have a very, what should I say, very holistic approach towards elephants, their conservation, their management over the years. A.J.W. Milroy wrote a very good book, which was followed by P.D. Swayze's Elephant Gold. A.J.W. Milroy's book was Management of Elephants in Captivity, which was later edited by the then director of Project Elephant, Mr. Bisht. So after that, many books did come in. And today, I'll tell you what, we have the second largest population in India and one of the second largest wild population in India and the largest captive population in India. So being a state which holds the second largest population, being a state which holds the first largest population in terms of captive elephants, we have come a long way. We have really come a long way. Today, that's one part of it. The second part is when Dr. Ghosh was telling about, our Honorable Prime Minister making a statement regarding the elephants and how elephant conservation needs to be, synced with the local communities. Absolutely the need of the hour. Elephant conservation cannot happen by isolating the principal stakeholders. These are people who are in the first line of exposure to elephants. It can be outside national parks, it can be outside sanctuaries, it can be also outside unprotected areas. So this is one community that we really need to take into consideration while making our conservation, actions and procedures. And of course, the biggest thing that you need in elephant conservation today is political will, which our Prime Minister has shown through his statement. And a study which is happening, results of which will take a while to come out. It's been seen through results, whatever is there right now, that, in conflict, whenever conflict happens, the first people to be affected by conflict mentally, to a large extent, to a large degree, are actually the women folk and the children. So this is a new dimension that we are getting into now, and it's going to be looked into in the near future. And now, that's what I had to say. And now, Dr. Ghosh, if there's anything specific that you would like to discuss, we can carry on. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Mr. Kaushik Barua. I think that was wonderful. I learned a lot of things, that they're just not one, but 3 treaties. That's amazing. And this the secret one you mentioned in the Jorhat. I think I'll catch you later in terms of what's happening to them.
Definitely, we'll do something about
it. So yeah, no, wonderful. And I think for all the listeners and all the people who are here, Mr. Kaushik Barua is not just a person who is a member of the State Board of Wildlife, or he's our main problem solver when it comes to Assam and Northeast. So anything related to elephants or this thing, he's always there to help us, support us. And in more than that, his vast experience, his hands-on way of dealing with things. So just yesterday, he was here in Kaziranga, and he was helping us in terms of we've just started the training of our camp elephants, the young elephants, and he was there to boost our morale, tell us, okay, what's good and what needs to be improved. And just last 1 week past that, he was in Tezpur collaring elephants and so on. So thank you so much for agreeing to be part of this. I'll catch your thread on the communities and maybe ask you a little more about, I remember that a few weeks ago, you posted one social media post about a woman weaving and the elephant herds going passing through. Yeah. So that was very interesting. So I just want to ask you that, when we go around in Assam, I also feel that, it's like Ganesh Baba, and people are a little hushed, honestly, when they're talking about elephants, like it's a lot of reverence, it's like that. So if that is the case, then what is it that we need to do include that element in our policies, which will cement it? Because we do have aspects of conflict, we do have crop compensation and ex gratia, which is happening at one end. We also know that elephants can, they get hit, hurt in many places. So this whole dichotomy, and what is it that we as policymakers are missing, or for that matter, civil society should do? Yeah, over to you.
See, now let's talk on a social angle. Let's talk like a social scientist now. See, it is not very easy for people to live with a wild animal. It's not very easy. We do use the word coexistence, which is absolutely fine and which actually applies in many scenarios. But sometimes it is tolerance. Tolerance from both sides. So that is something we would need to look into, like which communities are tolerant and which community would predominantly coexist. Now, which communities coexist? The communities which are exposed to which have been exposed to elephants over ages. They know that they know how to live with the elephant, and a bit of give and take happens. Tolerance is newer areas where elephants are coming in and somewhat people are tolerant. So the policy has to depend on that. Now like I always say, both elephants and humans, they are biologically different from each other, but they do have one common need. That's land, and land is scarce. So we would need to have policies where, we have a section where this is an elephant area, a section where, both elephants and humans can, can have interaction to an extent, and, a complete no elephant area. Otherwise there's nothing we can do. Conflict will keep on, and conflict. See, we have always, I feel we have always blamed the department, saying that conflict happens because the habitats are going. Conflict happens because there is no, the habitation is not rich, the vegetation is not propagating. But even there are other factors why elephants are coming out in many places. I will not go into that. Other factors why elephants are coming out. Now, in these sort of things, people like you and I can't do a thing. So the best way to approach this is have a healthy compensation package. Have a healthy compensation package which is adequate in today's terms and which can be quickly disbursed. So this is what we need. And as you know, our government is working on this. We are increasing the per bigha crop compensation cost. And we are also, increasing the ex gratia in terms of death and also in injury. It is happening, but these things do take time. Once these things come in, in a few places, I feel tolerances can convert into, coexistence, because they'll be okay with it. Because once they see that, we are being compensated adequately, quickly, and something which, if the elephants are coming in and destroying our crops and even breaking the houses, we're okay with it because the government's keeping us happy. It does work. This works, and it is work in all communities, especially agrarian communities, because it's very difficult to tell, agrarian communities to or rather ask them to wean off their land. I mean, that's priceless for them. And so these are things that we need to take into thing. And we also need to change our, sensitization and awareness programs, because these were devised almost 30-40 years ago. But now the situation has changed. And we need to come out with more practical, measures to impart this sensitization, to impart the awareness, keeping in view what the situation is today. So we need to go to the drawing books and, rewrite it again. Because previously, what used to happen there, I mean, for whatever reason, you see a wild animal, the best awareness was keep away from it. But now, your exposure is happening. And see, these sort of things that what we are discussing today it's not that this will, negate negative interactions between humans and elephants completely, but it will keep it at levels where everything is controlled. I mean, death on both sides, there's nothing known as acceptable levels, but, at least we can manage it and if we can keep it at levels and manage it there, it's a win-win situation for everybody. We have the elephant numbers. It's just that, the land that is there for them, we just need to secure that and keep it secured. So this is one policy, especially when it comes to, conversion of land in and around elephant areas. That's going to be a very big thing in the days to come. Development has to happen, but we have to see development at what cost, and come out with mitigate. I mean, when you come out with mitigation measures, I feel sometimes we become, overly magnanimous in our thinking. It shouldn't be that, it should be something which is cost effective and doable. These things, I mean, should run side by side, and hopefully things will improve.
Yeah, no, interesting. So if I may, and I might like to ask the organizers in terms of how much of time, we can have this. So, but of course, I will ask you, Kaushik, two things then. I mean, I know that, you've well traveled, you've been to African landscapes, Sri Lanka, South Asia. So what is, in terms of mitigation, is there something that we need to learn from these countries, or are we doing okay? That's one bit. The second is that, I mean, I know that elephant is a very intelligent animal, isn't it? It's a super intelligent animal, a sort of a sentient being, is something which I heard about, read about. So now, if whatever mitigation we do, and I mean, this is something, let's say, when we're looking at a power fence or anything, I'm told that it's smart, it's clever. So it's clever, so it knows how to kind of, uh, circumvent that mitigation and move on. So does it mean that when we talk about our mitigation policies, we have to be also constantly evolving? Or is there, like you said, a very important point was about this lifestyle or land use, for example. If I may say about Kaziranga, I was in one village, Tamuli Pathar. I think you also went there when you went to see our camp elephants. So there, I was pleasantly surprised that the people said that we don't grow paddy anymore. We have started mustard. So mustard crop, which is because they are at the boundary of the bank next to the park, and they realized that, okay, we can live with the elephants, so we probably not have paddy but have mustard. And so mustard is not being raided by the elephants, but there is deer, the hog deer is feeding on it, but they are okay with that, so so sorry for this, but the two questions is, A, that are there global best practices that we need to look at, or and the second is that, in terms of the mitigation measures that we have, a combination of culture, science, and everything, we also need to have that also keep, evolving. Over to you. Yeah.
See, I mean, I wouldn't compare us with the African, elephant bearing areas because they have huge tracts of land. Still, things can be worked out. I mean, we do see, in certain areas, they're moving people away and there is some sort of commotion happening. But in spite of that, there are, especially the southern part of Africa does have a lot of land. It's still not that much of a problem for them. And they're like South Africa, if you go to Kruger, entire Kruger is like a big zoo. It's like, few thousand kilometers fenced properly with proper scientific, I mean, solar powered fences, power fences. Ardo National Park, it has the Armstrong fence. The elephants are not coming out. That's a different thing. Let us compare ourselves with the Asian countries. We are one of the largest Asian countries to have elephants, the most number of elephants, both in the wild and in captivity. And see, every Asian state has more or less the same problem as us. I mean, Sri Lanka has blocked almost has completely rounded off their elephants and tried to keep them inside designated areas by using a combination of power fences and other elephant deterrents. I mean, it's not worked in certain areas. Elephants have shown distress. Elephants have died also. That is something we need to, work on. Saying that, but all these places have a reasonable amount of human population. And unfortunately for us, it is not that. We have to take care of our human population issue first. That is not only for elephants, that is per se for the entire country in terms of everything. That is the first thing. Nobody's speaking about that, but that's something we need to address. Because as populations increase, where is the free land? The free land is, the protected and the unprotected area. So it will spill over there. That's why you need political will also, to do things. And in terms of our best practices, I think they have a better, even few of our states have good compensation mechanism. Like I said, if you have a good compensation mechanism, you can keep on, you can keep on going. And what will happen is things go wrong, you compensate, things go wrong, you compensate. People are happy, it's okay. Now, as in terms of agricultural land use pattern change, like paddy giving away to and plantations which elephants don't eat. Of course, if your a deer or a smaller animal raids a field, the damage is much less than what the elephants would do. It's not the eating part when the elephants are in your field. Actually, it is the is the most of the problem. Actually, they will eat probably an acre and destroy another 3 acres while they transact through it. So definitely, if smaller animals eat, I mean, smaller animals are raiding crops, I mean, our people are still okay with it. But there is a problem. What the problem is, you just can't keep the area open. Even if you are growing crops um, which are not suited to elephants, but earlier elephants had a taste of crops out there which was good for them, which they know they are good for them. They will actually try to explore more. So that is something we need to look into it, especially in some areas. They are growing paddy for elephants, and I'm always against it. I'm telling them you're changing the palette actually. You need to, I mean, you're creating a buffer, that's fine, but don't create meal zones. If you really want to create meal zones, I mean, create it in the forest, create stuff like tora, damaru, and, other stuff which elephants usually eat rather than feeding them paddy. So these are things, like I said, in an agrarian economy, it's not one thing that would work. It's a combination of things that we need to look into. And like I said, we have some of the we have very good conservation processes. We have very good conservation actions going on. That is the reason we still have elephants, especially in Assam. In spite of the high number of casualties on both sides due to conflict, due to accidents, we still hold a substantial population. Like P.D. Stacey said, that one place in the world where Asian elephants will thrive and exist is Assam. But as like power fences, power fences do work, but it has to be, done intelligently. You just can't transfer your problems to somebody else's field. So, you do power fence, you actually secure a community, you secure a group of people, a village, but you also work on the elephant side at the same time. Probably, I mean, but see, the idea, it's like I said, I mean, I don't know, I would not comment on the other parts of India, but we have substantial elephants in Assam, in Northeast India. What we need to do is, many of the lands are secured and with us. Lands which are not secured, we need to secure and keep them protected for the elephants. And this is what we need to do. And after that, once we do that, definitely we can think for the future, think ahead. But but like we are humans, so we actually create a fuss over what we have lost, rather than not taking into account that we have something that needs to be secured and protected. So once whatever is there is secured and protected, we can think otherwise. But till such time that we keep on thinking about it, by not securing and protecting whatever is there, that portions from that area would also go actually in the long run. So these are things, there are multiple dimensions, and like you also said, that elephant conservation is not only the forest department's responsibility. Of course, your responsibility is within the protected and the unprotected areas where it is there, in territorial divisions and the parks and national parks and sanctuaries. But it is for the police, it is for the district administration, it is for the education department. There has to be a combined holistic approach to things. This is no more that we are in the 20s or 30s where everything all is well. We are developing, more people are coming into the system, and there is more taxation on land. And like I said, land is scarce, and elephants and humans, both of them need land. So that push and pull would happen. But in between, we have to work out things between them. Like I said, we do not need to be worried about elephant numbers, at least in our state, but we really need to work on the elephant land part. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. An interesting aspect in terms of that, okay, we are good on elephants in terms of the numbers. I guess what we are looking at is beyond the elephant, but more of the landscape approach, the land use. And yes, and given the time frame, I just thought I would like to take up the questions which have come up in chat box, and if Mr.
Um,
Kaushik, would like to take it, or what?
Dr. Sonali and Kaushik, we still have enough time, so we
Oh,
can,
we have more time to chat with each other?
no, definitely. See, generally we have, I mean, we about 1.5 hours to 2 hours, so that's the total time limit of the whole event.
Okay.
So you can touch upon more aspects if need be. Then I can collate the questions and then we can move on to Q&A. However,
See,
you would want to.
one good example that I would give you of how securing land works. I mean, yes, today in Assam there are more elephants. There are probably more elephants outside protected areas than there are in protected areas. But in the protected areas that there are elephants in, there is a substantially large number of elephants actually. Take it for Kaziranga, take it for Manas. There are a good number of elephants there. Now it is like, it is like a protected area is sacrosanct. Nothing can happen. It's whatever is there is there. You can't pull from there. I mean, you can push from there, but you can't pull from there. So it's a very good example of, a situation where if you're keeping the land secured, elephants thrive. And I mean, Kaziranga definitely is unique. You have elephants in the grasslands for months and months, and once in a while they go into Karbi Anglong. So I mean, the part, the Karbi Anglong part, if it can be secured more, it can be protected more. Definitely, it will do good for the elephants. And like I said, the elephants walk. It's followed by the other animals. So that's there. And the interesting part, let's touch the captive thing also. I mean, we have one of the largest captive population of elephants. We have one of the largest department. We are one of the largest, elephant custodians. The department is one of the largest elephant custodians. We have over 200 elephants, in our custody if we get all the departmental elephants together. And it's a flagship species. And let me tell you something about Kaziranga. Kaziranga is like what we say is the abode of the rhinos and the lair for the tigers. But both of them are safe because of our captive elephants, which are helping patrolling the parks in hostile situations. It is because of elephants we have been able to protect them. It's because of elephants, we have been able to enforce a large amount of our anti-poaching activities out there. I mean, I'm sure Dr. Sonali Ghosh would like to, add to this.
Yes. No, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kaushik, for that.
Yeah.
I mean, we all agree that in terms of, the upkeep, in terms of the living with elephants, living with wildlife in my backyard sort of a thing in Assam, I think we really top it in terms of the sheer tolerance, I would say, of people, of communities, and like we were discussing about the culture. My observation, and I think I don't have a right answer as of now, is that when we look at our policies, for example, if you look at crop compensation or look at ex gratia, or for that matter, even our management of elephants, where we are looking at, corridors and so on, the culture, how do we incorporate that? Because we know that yes, it's something which is important for the people. It's sacred, but there is no way. I mean, our policies are not reflecting it, and could be the reason could be that it is something which is intangible. You cannot, how do you put something like this into your policy of culture, or is there a way out? Because see, most of the time we rely more on science than on the other aspects when we are designing our policies, especially the management part. So do you have any suggestions or inputs on that? Kaushik?
This is something we need to constantly keep on evolving, keeping into view the current situations. Like I said, our sensitization, and awareness policies, action plans. In fact, our policies also, these are all outdated. We need to go back to the drawing board and re-engineer stuff. And when we re-engineer stuff, we can't have 20 years thing. We need to have a 5 and 10-year period and try to do things that way. And in the end of the day, it is resources. Without resources, we cannot do anything. And it is only political will to a large extent, which will bring in a change of mindset with resources, which will follow in later. So the public representatives, the lawmakers are very important part of this, So we would need to take them into consideration while we are making policies, gain their trust and confidence, and also make them a part of our policy level decisions, or our policy changes, for the matter of fact. And see, we cannot have a perfect a perfect scenario. That will never happen. But what we can do is at least tweak things and go about our compensation adequately and quickly, and hope to get things done. Unless we try certain things, we do not know. Like I also believe truly in science. But sometimes what happens is, when you are too dependent on science, you kill the species. So that is something, I'll not take. I mean, this is like the bee. I mean, people are using the bee sound. People are using this, that. But in the end of the day, these are all, things which are temporary phases. The biggest thing is, you need to secure the land. For that, you need a policy change. And for the policy change, you need the legislators and the politicians. You and I can't do it. They have to be there. They control the masses, and the masses won't listen to us, but they will listen to them. That's a very critical component. Nowadays, I say this, if you really want to save elephants, go and talk to the political parties, irrespective of which party the person belongs to. You need to talk to them, explain things to them, and people do understand. I have seen legislators nowadays, they do understand. I mean, sometimes they do make vague statements, but it is because nobody has explained to them the situation, or it's not in the knowledge. I mean, that's not part of their, political agenda. But once you make them understand, and they understand things do happen to a great degree, actually. See, there is also that is also, for all practical purposes, a give and take is everywhere. You need to, make certain concessions and go about things. ठीक है, चभी चलेगा. Still, you'll be able to do it. See, in the end of the day, it is for, us to, take care of we are in the hierarchy, we are in the topmost level. It's for us humans to, take care of all other species. So it's for us to think, and if we do something, they will survive. If we don't do something, we kill ourselves and we make them extinct too. So, I mean, it's for us to discuss and go about doing things. And I'm sure mentality is changing. I mean, mentality is surely changing. You and I have seen, administration and allied organizations, having a different perspective of things now. So slowly things are happening, hopefully, but it needs to happen at a moderately, good pace, so that, by the time we reach point A, we already lose out on certain points. That shouldn't happen. Hopefully it will happen. See, we have good number of everything. I will not only say elephants, we have good number of tigers, we have good number of rhinos, we have good number of everything. Only thing is, we need to, for that good number to survive, we need to protect their areas and keep them protected. So for that, of course, efforts will be needed. Thank you.
Yes, you're right. And absolutely, I mean, and in a way, when we look at, let's look at the Kaziranga Karbi Anglong Elephant Reserve. Now, we do have the Kaziranga Karbi Anglong Elephant Reserve declared. We do have it in terms of, but actually on the ground, there's a lot to be done, it rather than being just something like a declaration or just something which is there. But having said that, it is, being a forever optimist, I think that it is something which is going to help us, if not today, but later, when we have more strengthened policies and evidence on the ground. It's so that shouldn't deter us from declaring or creating such landscapes which have elephants in them and elephant reserves. So yes, so okay, so that's, yeah, I mean, I think we've discussed that quite a lot. And there's one question in the chat box which has kind of helped me, which is sort of, giving me another thread which I would like to discuss with you, Kaushik, with your experience,
Yes,
is
please.
this whole aspect, the thin line between animal welfare and animal conservation, And we have, like in Assam, we have the largest captive elephants in the country. And we also have elephant rides in the country, which probably nowhere else is now there. Like in Kaziranga, our elephant rides are so popular is that because of that, we are struggling now in terms of, where to stop and not. So there is a school of thought, there is a team of people who say that, no, this is not ethically correct, riding elephants. But I, having worked in the with Central Zoo Authority, looking at observing the Assam model, I think there is, I mean, what is ethically right or what is not, it's not something we can really save from the outside. You have yourself, you've trained elephants, you've owned elephants. So do you perceive a change in when we say animal welfare? I mean, we know that, yes, we have banned animals, elephants, dances in circuses. We've done that. But our elephant rides are still going on. So is that something which is not ethically correct, or what would you like to give your opinion on that?
I have great respect for both conservationists and activism. Activism is also required in its own place. Conservation is there. And sometimes, sometimes I have to just be in the middle and try to reason out with myself that where are things heading to. Being an elephant owner, I have never used my elephants for riding purpose. In fact, I don't ride my elephants. It was used, my elephants were used as kunkis. They were used to drive wild elephants, or rather keep wild elephants away from, paddy fields or human dominated areas. Now, as a range state, as Asian range states would require elephants. Please don't get me wrong, but Asian range states do require captive elephants because of our terrain. We'll need a certain amount of, captive elephants to be used as patrolling elephants, to be used as anti-poaching elephants, to travel, inter and intra, areas. Saying that, you have a lot of elephants in private hands, which were mostly used for the logging industry. And in the 80s, when the Supreme Court did put a restriction on logging, I mean, people mistake it. There was not a complete ban. It was a restriction on logging, and they wanted something systematic. Many elephants were out of work. And those days, activism was not there. Welfare didn't matter much to many people, but Assam did have a very good welfare system for elephants, even for logging elephants. But saying that, a lot of elephants, which were primarily used on commercial basis. I'm not going into details whether they should be used for commercial basis or not, but they were used then. Then it was the norm. It was being used. It was used as part of a business. It was used as a part of a system. A lot of elephants were jobless. So a lot of Assam elephants, again went to other parts of Northeast where lumbering was still going on, drag timber out. Saying that, moving tourists is still better than, keeping elephants in temples. In our scenario, I'm saying about the Assam scenario, keeping elephants in temples, restricting them and constraining them in a box like situation, chaining them up 24/7, begging on the streets, and also getting them getting one's elephant engaged into illegal activities like, illegal lumbering or dragging of timber. It is still better to use them in tourist work. It's just keeping them, it gives them a decent amount of money to maintain the elephant and not think XYZ that I need to, get into the illegal side of things. At least, what they're doing is they're doing it in front of us and we know, and these elephants have been taken care of. You've also seen routine veterinary care. Even Kaziranga is organizing veterinary care for these elephants. They are being looked after. Their well-being is also being looked after. So it's a good monitoring system. Saying that even when you use elephants in tourism industry, when how we are using in Kaziranga is early morning, right? We are moving the elephants early morning, and that's the time actually elephants move, in general. And then, the whole day they're free, they are foraging, they are being, many elephants, I mean, our elephants are not being chained or tied up 24/7, 365 days a year. They are being moved. They are, I mean, the teething chain is there just to find out the direction where they're going. But the half of the elephants, the camp elephants that I see, they're not even being restrained. They're sleeping, they're eating, they're being bathed properly, the foot care is proper. So if in comparison to other activities, this is still better. I mean, you can't have a 3-ton animal, walking in the streets or walking in the highway begging. You know, anything can happen. The elephant can get killed because of the elephant. The accidents might happen. I mean, a lot of things can happen. But this is at least, they are doing it at one part of the day. In general, naturally, they would move in that period of time. And by 7:30, everything is done. Everything is over with. So the elephants can again forage, go about their daily eating habits, resting habits. In the afternoon, when the sun's up, the mouths, bring them to the nearest water source, give them a nice, rub down, hose down, and then they go about their daily. We hand feed them just to keep the bonding on, and those things happen. So in comparison to other activities, I think it's still better. Still better. I mean, and maybe at one, I see we are not, I mean, slowly, if you see, even the captive stock would diminish, over a period of time, because previously Assam used to be one of the the largest elephant captures in numbers, in terms of numbers, used to happen in Assam. That stopped. So whatever you're seeing right now is whatever was harvested when this was permissible, this was legal, but after that, nothing has happened in Assam. So slowly, even the kunkis are going away, and even these sort of these timber elephants would also diminish. But saying that, I feel that we would still need to maintain a reasonable amount of captive stock in terms of patrolling parks and going about our anti-poaching activities in the different parks and sanctuaries of not only Assam, but in other parts of India too. In fact, all the Asian range states which have elephants will require, the forest department would require to maintain elephants to go about their park duties. That is something we cannot, do away with. That is something which will, I mean, I'm sorry, I might sound that, I'm going into more of a different, line than thinking about activism and welfare. But it is not that, our elephants are not taken care of. Our captive elephants are very well taken care of. In fact, we have some of the best captive elephant management principles here. Yes, one or two situations happen, but that happen everywhere. In a school also that can happen. That this particular teacher or somebody is harsh. So one or two incidents can happen, but those can always be looked into. And captive elephants in private hands, over a period of time, I sincerely believe that it will diminish, in Assam at least. And whatever stock will remain with the forest department. And these are stock which the forest department will require for their park management. Thank you.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right in terms of the aspect of management of our protected areas and the immense value that elephants bring in. I mean, we really, I mean, for us, the elephants are life givers, especially when there are floods. We need to, have our camps connected, our anti-poaching activities continued, or difficult terrain. So yeah, you're absolutely right that this is something which should be part of, again, a policy aspect, that how much importance we are giving to captive elephant management in our parks. so that, and for that matter, even the mahots, whether we are their level of intelligence and their whether they are up to date in terms of their awareness about what is the latest in terms of animal welfare. So yes, and as you said that yes, probably there'll be fewer elephants in captivity because again culturally our ways of dealing. So I mean, will that have an impact on the way we have culturally evolved, at least in Assam, with elephants? So I know of surnames which have Hati
Happy
Barua.
Guru.
What is that, Mr. Kaushik, as somebody who keeps elephants, or how is
Yes,
the
Hati Borua was
that
a
surname,
title.
that surname evolved?
Hati Borua was a title given by the
So will
Ahoms.
that impact the way we culturally look?
See, culturally, yeah, few tribes like the
Yes.
Moran, Motoks, and the Khamtis on the Assam border and also in the Arunachal border, they have kept their elephants even before, the Ahoms and other, I mean, the Ahoms and other had come in traditionally, but, slow. See, I mean, this is not the 1800s or early 1900s that we are in. Elephant, keeping an elephant is an expensive matter. It has a reasonable amount of costs involved in it, plus the welfare of the elephant. And also, you won't find that many mahots. Mahots are becoming scarce by the day, or other elephant managers are becoming scarce by the day. And eventually, like I said, see, this is our culture and tradition because we had a use for elephants, right? There was a use for elephants. The tribes had use for elephants. They were used to, move things from one place to another, go about from one place to another, and also keep elephants away. But now, as we move into the future, few of things transport, like we have cars, good roads now, that's no more required. And like I said, elephant keeping is an expensive matter unless you are unless you are in an illegal activity which gives you uh, which gives you a good amount of money. Uh, Even if you see through the traditional angle, elephant keeping has to change. And tradition and culture also, over a period of time, certain aspects of it do change. So it will be acceptable, say for let me give you my example. I come from a family where I'm the fourth generation, elephant custodian. I don't use the term as owner for me because I'm a custodian and you can't own gods. That's how I feel. So I'm a custodian, and I have I have a single child, and whether I mean the future is uncertain whether she would like to look after the elephants, or whether she'll be able to look after the elephants. These are questions which you know I mean many elephant owners would face over a period of time, and they have to make a healthy decision there and then. So they would probably, most of them would actually give up and go about doing other things. And probably a few would remain, but majority of it will actually, you know, be no more there. And tradition and culture are all good things. I mean, if we can uh, keep the thing alive, but when it comes to finances, economy, you know, uh, which are trailed with it, and there is no productivity, many would give it up. So, I mean, you would know that once upon a time, oh, this family had elephants, that family had elephants, that's it, finished. But I don't think the future is that bright or shouldn't be that bright actually, for captive elephants in terms of private hands. Thank you. Hello? Dr. Ghosh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yes, I can. Yeah. No, thank you. That was straight from the heart, I would say, in terms of what you mentioned about elephants and culture, and that how it is probably diminishing and it would probably be phased out. But I guess it's then a cause of worry for me, because when I say that culture, we've had a history, a culture of keeping elephants, the elephant upkeep, then it perhaps becomes in the end, 100 years hence, just something which was a document or something which was archived. It's not something where we will have some sort of an active practice of it. And I'm just thinking aloud with you that whether there is a requirement then to have these art forms, these traditional forms, uh, uh, sort of inscribed as, like, let's say, like, because I worked with the World Heritage, so there is something called the Intangible Cultural Heritage, so ICH, which is another convention of the UNESCO. And we've had, like, very recently, the most popular one was the Durga Puja, which was inscribed as a ICH. Or there is in Pithoragarh, there is this language of the Rangs, which is the lost languages are considered as intangible cultural heritage. So there could be a way to formalize. I mean, all I'm trying to say, again, linking the policy, the aspect of how we are doing preserving it forever, these traditions, is that. So yeah, I mean, that was just one observation. And yes, of course, it is going to remain with us again in our protected areas. It must. It is something that we would need to do, and perhaps do more, because honestly, we haven't done much in it, in terms of, we've had one elephant gold, PD Tracy, and then there is this huge gap in terms of how we can look at departmental elephant upkeep, and whether it is being, either it is part of our active management, is it being taught in our training schools, in our academies, are the forest managers being taught about elephant upkeep? So these are some things which I guess is another policy gap which can be addressed. So yeah, I think that was very interesting, and maybe I can stop here and ask Mr. Naveen if he would like to take up some questions, just to break this monotony between both of us. Yeah.
Yes.
Much. It
Thanks,
was
Dr. Sonali, and thanks, Mr. Kaushik. I think it was a very riveting discussion, engaging discussion. I think a lot of points, that are highly relevant to, highly relevant 2024, because, we talked about culture, and I think Kaushik was talking about how cultures change, right? And I mean, what was there 20 years before, or, maybe 30, 40 years before, maybe we don't live in those times already, because things are changing so fast. So thank you for that. And I had some questions personally, but I think I'll just start with, the questions from the audience. And it's more on the, conservation side, conservation of elephants. So maybe some points we've already touched upon, but if you have anything more that you want to, kind of add, you can. So Vadiraj asks, the arrangement and demarcation of land for elephants and humans are as perceived by humans, but do elephants perceive boundaries? Or can we state coexistence if there isn't resource sharing? Can we rework the policy?
The gentleman who's asking this has actually given the answers himself.
Okay. Yeah, kind
See?
of.
Yeah.
But I think finally, many of the discussions, even on Friends of Elephants and, other forums, I think it boils down to that. I think we're all convinced, and, due to the decisions taken before, we have strong laws. So the protected areas are kind of protected, right? Can't touch it. But what is happening in terms of land use, outside the protected areas? And, and is that kind of, exacerbating the problem? I mean,
Definitely, once even the land use areas, the land use rather in places which are near protected and unprotected areas, they change. The
yeah,
effect also goes into the protected and unprotected areas.
Absolutely.
That is the reason, why you find our courts coming. I mean, hats off to our judiciary. It's it's the only thing in India that is, seriously looking into these aspects and coming out with reasonably good judgments. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, of course, you change the land. What happens is, previously, see, I'll give you an example. Like I said, when elephants raid paddy, it is not that they have, prefixed their mind into raiding paddy. It happens over a period of time. First they walk through it, they walk through it, they walk through it, and then they slowly pick it up. And once the other part, the part to which they're supposed to get, the land out there is totally degraded. There is no more forest out there. Connectivity issues are there out there. The land use pattern has changed out there. The impact you're feeling it in the edge of the forest, because the transact is no more happening, or transact is not happening smoothly. This is just a simple example. So land use pattern, not only affects elephants, it affects every species on earth. So that's something we need to, like I say, I'm for development, but like I say, development at what cost?
Yeah.
And at what point? These are things that we need to look into. We are having okay, fine. Here we have Deepor Bill, where the people say it's a corridor, but I would put it as a part of the greater elephant habitat. Okay, it's a water body, and there's a train line which divides the water body from the other part of the forest. So whatever has happened, right? We can't do anything. There are mitigation measures in place. Indian Railways has come out with a vestibule which will make the train go up, and elephants, there'll be, underpasses. WIA was also there. So that's okay. That's one angle that we look into. But there's another, there's a second train line which proposed to be, be laid in that area. That would be a catastrophe, actually.
Yeah.
See, this is what? This is plain land use change, right?
Yeah.
So these are things that we need to look into it. Like I said, development is required, but at what cost? That there definitely, there definitely might be ways and means to reroute it, or maybe do something, bring in newer technology. Like the road which goes through Haflong, through south of Assam. People were saying that, roads should not go through this, and we are supposed to move through some other parts. But then, of course, the name of the gentleman, he says, okay, if you do this, this is the amount of, emissions that you are going to have, and which was not making sense. Compared to, the shorter route. So we agreed, we said that, okay, make it a shorter route, but in areas where the elephant crosses over, that has to be completely secured. It has happened. See,
Yeah.
it's a give and take, thing. You have to leave some, take some, and do best for everybody. And it's not that it's not doable, most of the times it's doable, and the times they are not doable, it is the person's ego that has to be blamed most of the time.
Yeah.
Like somebody is hellbound that I need to take it through this way, and somebody is like, no, I will not let you, think. You also need to
Yeah.
think about the local people. Like I said, you always need to think about the local people. You cannot deprive them of their economic benefits
Yeah.
by creating, by not creating something too. If you're doing that, compensate them properly.
Mm.
But that doesn't happen, right? So there are many aspects. There are many aspects to it. You need to, as an case-wise basis, you need to work on it.
Yeah, and in many cases, like how you rightly mentioned, the development, for example, some, large scale projects, close to forest areas, maybe hydroelectric power projects, or, uh, it kind of, touted as beneficial to the local communities, right? But we have a lot of data to suggest that, it may not be the case, or, at least it's not proportional. Whatever benefits that, a large project, or, or even, for example, say something like a small scale one, say something like a resort or something like a homestay, right? is in reality, when we look at the data, because a lot of people from outside come and start these, businesses, and finally the
Absolutely.
locals may not, necessarily be benefiting from it. At the same point, same time, the land use patterns change drastically, in a short period of time. So I think it also becomes more important to actually, figure out, you know, at what level or to what extent the locals are getting benefited, and like as you rightly said, at what cost. I mean, that finally, is the major point. Dr. Sonali, if you want to add anything?
Um, yeah, I mean, see, I'm part of the government, I'm part of the system, so I cannot really say that no, this is a development which is not for the people, because this is what the people have chosen, and it has been done. But having said that, my two cents would be that this type of development versus conservation is not new. It's there for long. I mean, since independence or even pre-independence, I'm sure to say that everywhere there has been a tradition, others, and be possible manner, whether it is in terms of science, in terms of data, in terms of mitigation measures, and so on. But what is very important, and I strongly believe
You're losing your voice in between, doctor.
I think
Okay,
we
I
lost.
think there is a network problem. Yeah, we lost it. So we'll just move on. I think we have covered it comprehensively. So, how effective is lemon cultivation in terms of conflict mitigation, especially in case of Assam? Samrat Sen Gupta asked this question.
Oh, good. I was just wanting this to come. Anyway,
Yeah.
should I do the honors?
Yes, yes, please, Mr. Kaushik.
See, Samrat, everything has limitations. Okay, everything has limitation. Everything needs to be tried. You do not know till you have tried and failed that this thing doesn't work, or till you have tried and succeeded that this thing works. Only lemon cultivation, see, per se, if you go theoretically, lemon cultivation should work, because if you can network the plants in such a way that you're crisscrossing it and making a fence, a hard fence out of it, thorny hard fence, it should work. It has worked in certain component wise basis, but it takes time. It's not that it's going to happen in the next 6 months. So it has to be done in a planned way, and it has to be done in a way that it can be looked after till it has reached the level whereby it is some sort of a hard thorny fence. Of course it will work, but you just can't say that I have done it in a year and this is the elephants are not coming. It doesn't happen. You really need to mature more than that. In North Bank, and there is another in North Bank, WWF had tried it in certain places, in certain gardens. It has worked. Aranya, another organization from Assam, Guwahati-based organization, they had tried in Subsagar. It has worked, but it's not that it has worked tomorrow. It's taken time. It needs to be developed further. It needs to mature further before it can really be a foolproof system. But it can really be a line. It is a line of defense. I wouldn't negate that. And like I said, everything has its plus and minuses. So you need to take up the plus and minuses for the situation, compensate yourself, and go about things.
Yes. So just linking
Dr.
another
Kaushik, back.
question to the point. So, what would you describe as the best compensation scheme for all aspects of conflict, like crop damage, human mortality, and injury? And currently, which state has the best compensation policy? Rajshekhar Niyogi asked that question.
Well, I think the other states I will not mention the state's name, but the other states do have a very healthy compensation scheme. They have a very efficient, systematic disbursing system. We are also developing one, and our compensation is also being relooked into and to make it at par with the other states. Saying that Maharashtra and Karnataka has one of the best, and Tamil Nadu now has one of the best uh, in terms of amount, they are one of the best. Disbursing is also, they have developed apps and all which are doing very good. Even Madhya Pradesh, but we are not behind. We'll also be coming into this uh, very very shortly. But the thing is, there I'm saying this in terms of other animals like tiger and other vermin. In terms of elephants, definitely these are newer states. Maharashtra is a newer state which is seeing elephants. So, but they have linked it to their existing compensation system, which is working good. So goes for Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. But it's not that we are behind. We are trying to, we are trying to get past the past and come out with a better developed system whereby this dispersals are quick and the amount is sufficient. And saying that one very good step that has happened and we are practicing now. I mean, we had actually deployed it on a trial basis. Is in maximum situations we had seen that disbursements were hampered due to the post-mortem certificate, which you had to, the police was involved and then the health authorities were involved. But Assam is very soon going to do away with it. The forest officer and the local SDO and SDPO, if they say the person has been suspected killed by elephants, the money is going to be disbursed. So that is something which is happening, so that the funds reach the distressed at a quicker pace. See, we are also learning, other states learn from us. We are also learning from other states. We are also trying to adopt and adapt the best practices to our own use.
Yes. Dr. Sonali, sorry we lost you. You just wanted to complete your point on the change in land use pattern.
Yeah, sorry. I think that was like I just lost my connection, the
Yeah.
Wi-Fi, so I've connected on mobile. It was
Yeah.
probably like an indicator that my time is over on this. So, but having said that, yeah, I was trying to say that this development versus conservation debate is ever present. It's not going to be something which we'll have to live with it, like we'll have to live with human elephant conflict or human animal conflict. And I personally feel that it's very important that the role of civil society becomes more and more important in this discourse. And like you have this Friends of Elephants, and I wish, like in Assam, we can have something like this kind of a group which is looking at. We need something like a third pillar, something like which is looking at okay, this is the proposed development. This is what is the current situation in terms of the biodiversity, and to bring it a different perspective. It has to come from the people. Otherwise, it's always will be a debate which will not really have a solution, because development is for the people, and the solution for the conservation aspect has to come from the people, which is basically again a set of people perhaps, or much more aware people, or anything. And that's why I think when and taking the cue from Mr. Kaushik's thread about compensation, why is it that, I mean, our compensation schemes in Assam are perhaps on a lower rate compared, or they haven't been revised compared to what we could have in southern states. And clearly the reason being that the civil society, or the people who could bring in was perhaps much more aware in those states to kind of make a difference and do that. But that doesn't mean that we are any less. I wouldn't call the current compensation schemes that we have in our state, in Assam, any less. In fact, 4 lakhs is a very big amount when it comes to rural communities, the economic aspect of the rural countryside in Assam. And as Mr. Kaushik has said, we have done systemic changes in the way the amount is being dispersed. The way earlier it was caught up in terms of the red tape, in terms of the bureaucratic hassles, that has been completely removed. It is a global pool from where people can it can come in, and it is more or less immediately dispersed. So I guess that is what is the reform which will come in with more evidence, with more science, and with more participation of the civil society. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sonali. So we'll move on to the next question. I think again we have touched upon human-elephant conflict, but we have a question. Unmil Akash asks, what can be an immediate and convenient approach to minimize human-elephant conflict? I think it's a broad question and no straight answers, but both of you want to add anything else on this?
Like we have discussed, there is no shortcut to things. We are using certain band-aid measures. See, one thing is there. As a country, as a country as a whole, when we had first deployed these band-aid measures, when we say band-aid measures is like, giving people flashlights, crackers, and, small awareness programs being done, and then came the power fencing thing. These were measures, band-aid measures. If the power fencing thing was a medium term measure to actually buy some time till intense scientific actions could come in. Unfortunately, 20 years, nothing substantial was happened. So we are still in that mode. But saying that, although we are in the same mode, but there are, things are happening now to expedite certain, things practically, scientifically, socially, to make the overall situation better in the years to come. I wouldn't say days, in the years to come. And minimize. Mitigating conflict is not a very easy thing. It's like the stray dog incident. We have been having a lot of stray dog incident, but can we completely do away with that? It's something like that. It will take time, and of course we have lost out on a major time frame. In the last 20 years, where we were doing the other stuff, and we were equipping, tooling people with different equipment, flashlights, vagara vagara. But we did lose out on that, and hopefully now we have realized it, and we are expediting things, and hopefully in the next few years you will see something better. I won't say remarkable, but definitely better than what it was in the last 20 years.
Thanks, Kaushik. So the next question is, what is the best method to control death of elephants through electrocution? Rajiv Lochan asked this question.
Is he from Assam? I think so. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Looks like.
See, there are types of electrocution. Okay, one is the deliberate electrocution, whereby an elephant is raiding crops, and the person who's the owner, who's the tiller, actually hooks up a wire from the main and leaves it on the ground to with the idea of actually killing the elephant, or rather doing away with the problem. So this is something which proper legislation, would enforcing of rules, regulations, the law of the land would help. Sometimes, many a time it is seen that, deliberate electrocution happens. And especially in certain enclosed areas also we have experienced. Then the law would take its own course. That person has to be booked. And people have been arrested in Assam, and people have been booked. So we have a good system of conviction, actually, in terms of, these electrocutions. Now, the second is I would come to is, where a person puts up a fence, with the idea of not killing the elephant, but with the idea of, giving the elephant a jolt and keeping it away from, from keeping it away from raiding his land. Now, there was a debate on this a few days back, and what happens is, this is a simple guy who thinks that, okay, I would need batteries to power the thing, because very few people know that, it is solar powered, that solar power thing, or an energizer which actually powers the fence. So most of them, what they do is they put it through an inverter. Now, when we put it through an inverter, it comes to the same thing. You are actually giving out AC current, which is lethal for you and the elephant. So these are certain things which can change over period of time, through sensitization and awareness. But saying that a person who deliberately electrocutes an elephant with the intent of killing it, I think there is no mercy should be shown, and no mercy has been shown to people like this. Actually, they have been booked, they've been arrested, and they have been prosecuted. Oh, I mean, during the course. So that's a special case. But these sort of people, the second type of people, who know that, there is something known as a power fence, they want to do it, and they use the instead of an energizer, they use an inverter. That sensitization, will be required. There is another, there is another set of people amongst these people who are, who are so poor. I mean, they have a small plot of cultivable land, and they look forward to the income from that cultivable land to, get them through the year. So those people are somebody who would want to, protect their crop at any cost. But these are illiterate people. They do not know. Sometimes they do hook up. These are the people who hook up the, fence to the mains. That's where the problem starts. And you have had people getting killed too, not only elephants. Now that's where, probably we should come out with a scheme where, we can subsidize, or we can give them a fence, which is, we can give them an energizer and the fencing material, so that they put up a proper fence. Now, the third most important thing is sagging wires, which is the state problem. The sagging wire and, and wires passing through elephant areas. I mean, that has been a problem, but Assam, NGOs in Assam, a lot of NGOs in Assam, WWF, WTI, Aranyak, they have actually got together and they have identified these areas, most of these areas where the lines are sagging, or these lines are on an lie on the path of an elephant area, a movement area. So, and have informed the government. The government in turn has informed the Assam State Electricity Board to look into it. And a good thing has happened. This is one area where we have gained a lot of successes in areas where the line has sagged and the height is more. The lines have been pulled, and they're constantly being monitored. In areas where, the lines, although they have been pulled, but the height is not substantial, those are being changed to insulated wires, overhead cables. So this is, this is something that's worked. The process is going on. It'll take some time, and yeah, things have happened on this. I mean, we have seen this is one aspect of elephant conservation where, we had brought out a problem and the government has looked into the problem, and this has happened pretty quick actually. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that. So next question is, are there any negative impacts on elephants that are used for wildlife safaris by national parks?
Negative impact in what sense? In the sense of captive elephants being used, or on the ecology of the parks?
I'm assuming it's on the captive elephants.
The welfare.
Yeah, yes.
See, like I said, it's still better. Of course, if you can do away with many things like that in life, life would be life would be better for everyone. But like I said, it is plus and minuses are there. Not all owners are same. Some owners do look after their elephants like their own children. I know many, and they in fact don't even want to part with their elephants. They would rather skip one meal and keep the elephants, keep them out, and maintain the elephants. There are people like that. There are people like that there are other set of people who like to fleece and get as much as money as possible. There are these sets of people, and coming to that, since the elephants are in a system, because they are being used in the parks. So they are better off than them being engaged in other activities. Because you have an FBO, you have the rescue doctors out there which call upon the elephants, look into their health indexes every now and then, prescribe them nutrients, vitamins, minerals, and stuff like that. So it is better. I mean, of course, like it won't be 100% true if I say that, this is an okay situation, but it's still better.
Yeah. Thank you. So there's a comment from, I think, Shraddha. I thought I couldn't agree more with this. Captive elephants in protected areas like Pake Tiger Reserve are indispensable to park protection and management, especially during monsoon season when the park is inaccessible through vehicle or even on foot. We are currently conducting a positive reinforcement program at Pake to train these elephants in voluntarily participating in medical procedures to make this less stressful for elephants and also improve their relationship with mahouts, significantly reducing risk to their life. So, yes, that's a comment from Shraddha. Thanks, Shraddha, for that.
I know about this, and they are doing a splendid job on that, actually. I appreciate the
Yes.
work that's being done.
Yes. So again, Ravi, also I think it's a comment from my experience. Captive elephants with government departments are looked after much better than the elephants that are cruelly treated by most private owners who will need a profit incentive to maintain an elephant. Temple elephants are yet another example. Torture, crowds, noises are not something most elephants are used to. And the sizable number of captive elephants do need to be looked after. You can't just turn them loose into the forest. They are too used to human habitation. These captive elephants also breed. So
It's truth. I mean, what he has written is the truth. I mean, what do you want me to answer out there? It's whatever the gentleman has stated is the truth.
yes,
Uh, is the truth,
it's. I
but
mean, he's just
most,
expressing his comment. Yeah,
yes, so I agree with him. It's the truth.
yeah. So Ravi, I think again says good point, sir. Development at what cost? Yes, I think we have extensively, you know, covered that. So, what are the key challenges in maintaining and restoring elephant corridors in India? Rishi Pasumatari is asking.
Dr. Ghosh, I presume would like to answer that, please.
Yeah, so corridors, I mean, I would like to say that, like in case of Kaziranga, I'll again give the example of Kaziranga. We have 9 designated corridors in Kaziranga landscape that connect Kaziranga to Karbi Anglong. And when we say these designated corridors, they're primarily for elephants. I mean, there are all other animals also use it. And these corridors, we have been able to protect, or for that matter, make ensure that there is a regulation in speed in terms of vehicles, because when there is animal movement, especially during floods and so on. So that's about corridors here. I am aware that Ministry of Environment, Forest, Climate Change has recently come up with corridors in at the country level. These have been mapped. They have got the sort of geospatial representation of these corridors. So I guess with science, with more evidence, and with more knowledge, these corridors are being mapped, and they are being put on in terms of black and white to the government, to the policymakers, that these are the corridors and we need to protect them. And yes, there would be issues in certain areas where these corridors probably are lost, or as we are all discussing, the land use aspect is probably being altered. But again, yet again, I mean, the fact that we have been able to delineate and put them and recognize that these are the ones which need to be used and preserved is a good step. So I'll stop there. Thank you.
Uh, yes, so I think we have, covered all the questions. So I really thank, Dr. Sonali and Mr. Kaushik, because I think, over the last 10 years, we have had, previously IFS officers coming to our event, especially in Bangalore when we used to have offline events. But it's so easy for, people like Dr. Sonali to just say no, and because uh, they would definitely be very busy and a lot of work. But I think from time to time it's extremely important, because just the audience, a common audience who are not involved with wildlife, they have very limited opportunities to interact, with the people on the field, who are administrators. And I think the whole event, I think, went really well, covered a lot of aspects, and I think touching the difficult aspects, finally, like how both Mr. Kaushik and Dr. Sonali, I think, clearly mentioned that it's just not the forest department, it's just not some NGOs or people working in the conservation sector that is responsible. I think it's up to each one of us, and and take a stand, and fight for the cause what you think is right. And that's the only way, I think, we're going to do it together. Otherwise, even the government requires, data. It requires, the right people advising them. It's just not that the government knows everything. That's not true, right? So the government constantly seeks advice, constantly, you know, um, needs help from the experts, from all the stakeholders, right? And so it's just not a few set of people who are responsible for this. I think we have to get actively involved in policy making, actively engaging with the government officials or any stakeholder for that matter. And that's when we can at some level bring about, or try to bring about, some change. So thank you once again, Mr. Kaushik. Thank you once again, Dr. Sonali. Thank you, all the audience, for actively getting involved. Over to you, Soundaryavalli.
Thank you. Thanks, Naveen. And for the benefit of the audience who probably did not know who Naveen was, some of you, Naveen is an engineer from Bangalore, and he has been working in the field of Asian elephant science and conservation for the past 10 years. During this time, he has contributed to the variety of long and short-term projects, gaining invaluable field experience in key areas such as elephant population estimation, distribution and sampling techniques, human-elephant conflict studies, elephant corridor monitoring, village surveys, barrier assessments, and elephant connectivity research, among others. Really thank both Dr. Sonali as well as Kaushik for the brilliant conversation that went along the course in the duration of 1.5 hours, reflecting on the past and looking at the roadmap, how the future needs to be for both elephants and human beings to coexist. So also in terms of the challenges and the solutions, which went from local challenges, looking at the global based solutions, if there are any, or best practices that can be followed. Some of the brilliant questions came up, and it was very well answered, and it was an eye-opener, I should say. What I really liked was when Kaushik mentioned about conservation of elephants is the culture in Assam. So that was really very, very nice. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. And thanks to the partners for today's event, both Assam Forest as well as National Park, Kaziranga and Tiger Reserve. So this event is going to go on YouTube. It will be available for viewers in 1 or 2 days' time. Thank you all participants, and looking forward to catch up with all of you in just another month's time. Thank you. Wish everybody a very, very happy Christmas, a Merry Christmas, and a very, very great, prosperous New Year to both elephant as well as all the other wild animals and us. Thank you.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.